Hi again, budding young mammalogists. Dr. Jared Rathel here, and I promise you I'm going to keep this one short. Lecture 4.2 is entitled Orders Scandentia and Dermoptera. So today we're going to survey the tree shrews, although they're not shrews at all. The order Scandentia, as seen on the left here. And then these amazing colugos, or flying lemurs. And as you might have guessed, they're not lemurs either. They're in the order Dermoptera. So this lecture aligns with chapter 14 in your textbook. According to Meredith et al., 2011, we've seen this phylogenetic tree quite a bit now this semester. That's on the left-hand side. The Scandentia are most closely related to the lagomorphs and the rodents. Although if you look closely, this node right here, this common ancestor that connects Scandentia to the lagomorphs and rodents, that question mark means that ancestral node was poorly supported by the data according to the authors. So Meredith places the order Dermoptera, the colugos, as the most closely related order to the primates. And as we shall soon learn, both orders, Scandentia and Dermoptera, were historically grouped with the primates at one point or another. We're going to cover primates later this week. It's lecture 4.5. I do want to show you another phylogenetic tree. This is, again, from your textbook, chapter 5, figure 15. This is Springer, 2011. These are both cited in your text. But with Springer now, we've got Scandentia and Dermoptera as the two most closely related orders, sharing the most recent common ancestor. And you can see that both of these lineages, this common ancestor, is marked with this EU, which stands for a Eurasian lineage. And so we're going to be thinking about comparative phylogeography, more broadly biogeography, in our next lecture. The order Scandentia is represented by two families, 4 genera, and 23 total species. Collectively, they're known as the tree shrews. The shrew part is definitely a misnomer. They're not closely related to shrews, more closely related to rodents, lagomorphs, and primates. Historically, tree shrews were actually considered basal members of the primate order, or they were placed in that catch-all order that we learned about earlier in the semester, the insectivore clade. So tree shrews are now considered to be a distinct lineage, separate from both the primates as well as the insectivores, and distinct enough genetically to warrant placement in their own order. So we're going to return to that last point here shortly, but tree shrews are behaviorally quite unique because they are going to practice absentee maternal care coupled with social monogamy. And I'll go over that here in just a few slides. The first family of tree shrews is composed of just one genus, just one species, the pin-tailed or feather-tailed tree shrew. It inhabits Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand, so Southeast Asia. I spent a little over a year in Thailand. Never saw a pen-tailed tree shrew, but they are quite small, live in the tree canopy, and are nocturnal. The pen-tailed or feather-tailed common name is derived from obviously this tail that is naked up until the very tip, and then we see these white brushy hairs, which resembles an old-fashioned quill pen or a bottle brush. So these guys are nocturnal. They have a very well-developed tapetum lucidum. So the tapetum lucidum is a layer of tissue in the eye. It's going to lie immediately behind the retina, and it's essentially a biological reflector system. So the cells in the tapetum lucidum, they reflect visible light back through the retina, increasing the light available to the photoreceptors. We see this layer of reflective cells in nocturnal mammals, particularly in the carnivores. If you ever shined a light at your cat at night, you can really see that white or red eye shine. You can see the re-reflection of the light here in the eyes of this pin-tailed shrew. So tree shrews, as the name implies, are clearly arboreal. They're skilled climbers. They're rarely going to descend all the way to the ground. Their diet is notably omnivorous. It includes worms, insects, mice, small birds, lizards, and fruits. They are certainly unique because they are the only known wild mammal that chronically, like daily, consumes copious amounts of alcohol, which brings us to Wines et al. 2008. And your next primary literature summary. So as always, directions are on Canvas, but this week's a little bit different. I'm only going to have you read the abstracts. So again, you only have to read the short abstract for this article and one additional one. No intros, no discussions, no results, just the abstracts. And then I'd like for you to watch the short video that accompanies this paper. In short, Wines et al., Wines and colleagues here, radio-collared tree shrews in a West Malaysian rainforest, and found that they consume alcoholic nectar daily from flower buds of the Bertum palm. Nectar high in alcohol is produced by specialized flower buds that harbor a community of fermenting yeast. So these pin-tailed shrews regularly consumed doses of alcohol that would totally inebriate a human. But they showed no visible signs of intoxication. They seem to be metabolizing alcohol by a detoxification pathway in the liver that's not commonly used by humans. So the benefit of all of this ingested alcohol for tree shrews is still unclear, and it's not known how they mitigate the risk of continuous high blood alcohol concentrations, particularly when running around in treetops. Secondly, second article that I want for you to read the abstract for is Clark et al. 2009, and then I want you to watch the short David Attenborough video that accompanies this abstract. Again, this is all on Canvas, but this is just amazing to me. So there is a species of pitcher plant, and you may know the pitcher plant. This is typically a carnivorous plant. It's going to trap beetles, lure in beetles and carrion flies and such that slide down and are digested for their nitrogen. But this particular species of pitcher is providing nectar, sweet nectar, to tree shrews. In exchange, you can see the little shrew sitting here lapping up the nectar in exchange for its droppings, for its fecal matter. Of course, the fecal matter of these insectivorous shrews is rich in nitrogen, which is what those pitcher plants are after. So for this particular species of pitcher plant, it's actually more advantageous to exploit shrews than to catch and digest insects. So two primary literature summaries. The second family of tree shrews, the Tupaiidae, is comprised of 3 genera and the majority of the species, 22 species. They're restricted to the oriental faunal region, and I'll elaborate on the different faunal regions in our next lecture on biogeography. But for now, this family is found ranging from India, southern China, and the Philippines, all the way down southward through Southeast Asia, all the way down to Borneo and Indonesia. So unlike the pin-tailed shrews, the tupaiids are diurnal, meaning they're active during the day. Their senses of hearing and smell are quite keen. They're omnivorous, feeding on insects and fruit. Chiefly insectivorous, tree shrews may consume fruit to add extra calories or nutrients such as calcium to their otherwise high protein diet. However, there are several species of Malaysian tree shrews that are primarily frugivorous, and they concentrate on small, soft, avian dispersed fruits. So interestingly, at least 3 species of tree shrews, pygmy, northern, and large tree shrews, exhibit absentee maternal care coupled with social monogamy. So we're going to discuss mammalian mating systems and parental investment later this week in lecture 4.4. But for now, tree shrews are going to build nests of dried leaves in hollow trees or in root systems. They construct 2 nests, one for the parents and one for the young. The young's nest, the natal nest, is made by the male, which is a departure from the usual mammalian scheme. So following a gestation period of about 45 to 50 days, you have 1 to 3 young that are born without fur and closed ears and eyes. So these are altricial young. Remember, underdeveloped young. They're born in that separate nest from their parents. And then this is what's so strange. The mother visits her young only once every 48 hours to nurse. And she's just going to nurse them for about 10 to 15 minutes. However, during that short visit, she's able to provide them with about 5 to 15 grams of milk, which is a lot of milk for this tiny offspring, which is going to support that rapid growth. The milk is high in protein. It's about 10% protein. And very high in fat, 25% fat, so considerably higher than the whole milk, cow's milk that we drink. That high fat is going to allow those young to maintain a high body temperature of about 37 degrees centigrade, despite the absence of having the larger, relatively large-bodied mother in the nest to snuggle up with. After about 1 month following birth, the pups then disperse from their natal nest and then join the parents in the parental nest. But all told, mom is going to spend just 1.5 hours with the infants during the nursing phase. Talk about being latchkey kids, right? So because of the continued loss of forest habitat throughout their range, such as the conversion of old-growth Malayan tropical rainforests into palm oil monocultures, there are 6 species of tree shrews that are considered endangered or threatened by the IUCN. The order Dermoptera, which literally translates as skin-winged, so it just has a single family which contains 2 genera and 2 species. They're commonly called the flying lemurs or the colugos. As Dermopterans are certainly not lemurs, as I've expressed earlier, I will henceforth refer to them as colugos. Further, as you recall from our last lecture, Only the Chiroptera, the bats, have true powered flight. So they're not flying lemurs. The colugos are gliders. As previously mentioned, like the tree shrews, this order, Dermoptera, it kind of has a confusing taxonomic history as well. Historically, colugos were grouped taxonomically with the bats, the insectivores, or the primates. They are closely related to primates as well as the Scandentia, our tree shrews, but again, they are distinct enough to warrant their own taxonomic order. There are two species of colugos. The Philippine colugo is found in the southern Philippines. And then there is the Sunda colugo, which occurs in Indochina, Malaysia, Sumatra, Java, Borneo, and several other small islands in Indonesia. Colugos are completely arboreal. They're going to spend their entire lives in trees. They inhabit lowland as well as upland forests and plantations. They are primarily nocturnal, foraging on flowers, leaves, and fruit. Colugos are the premier gliding mammals. So this is the pinnacle of gliding evolution. And their morphological adaptations for this means of locomotion, like this extensive patagium, are quite pronounced. We've discussed the patagium in our last lecture when we talked about modes of locomotion. The colugo's offspring are born altricial, and they're going to reside with the mother continually for about 6 months. The mothers are known to tuck their infants inside of their patagium. Looks like a pretty cozy place to be, as demonstrated here. And then I love this shot. This is such an amazing series of photos that's been compressed into one. And again, you can see that young colugo hanging from mom's breast as she glides in for a landing on this like totally vertical surface. I mean, this is a 90-degree surface, and she's coming in for a landing. So colugos are hunted for both their fur as well as for food. That said, habitat loss due to deforestation, logging, and the clearing of these forests for palm oil, rubber plantations, this is probably a far greater threat than harvest. The Philippine colugo is presently considered threatened. Okay, I have just one reference from your text for which you're going to summarize the abstract. This is wine, so don't forget to do that short assignment for me. Next up, Lecture 4.3 is entitled Biogeography and Global Provincialism in Mammalian Distributions. Take care, guys.